I'm Mary Fichtner from Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm going to read you a story today called Rusty and the River, a Rusty the Ranch Horse Tale. I wrote the words in rhyme, and my daughter did the illustrations in watercolor. Her name is Rosalind, and she's at the University of Wyoming in the art program. This book was chosen by the state of Wyoming to represent Wyoming at the National Book Festival. It's held every year in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress, and each state gets to choose a children's book to represent their state at the festival. And kids go and learn about each and every state and what represents them. And we had the honor of being that book last year. I wonder if you all love the river as much as I do. There's so many fun things to do at the river. Float in a raft, fish, skip rocks on the water, watch the wildlife, or just sit and listen to the calming sounds of the river. Rivers are one of our most important resources. They provide water for our livestock, for the wildlife, for the lands. They provide a lot of recreational activities, and this book is about the Platte River in Wyoming. Let's read now and see how much Rusty loves the river. And notice that there's a trout on every page. Rusty loved the Grand River, a long, faithful friend, one who would be there at every small bend. For hours a day by its side he would spend. The sound of the water would comfort and mend. Rusty visited daily. It was always right there, humming along like it had not a care, polishing rocks with magical flair, throwing out waves as if sending a dare. The river in spring was brawny and bold, running high on the banks, laughing at their threshold. Rusty stood by its side to gaze and behold. In summer, the river was cool, swift, and strong. Rusty loved to get drinks refreshing and long, cooling his hooves as it billowed along. In autumn, the river was trimmed in gold sand. Further along, laced in stunning farmland. Either place, Rusty was honored to stand. In the cold of winter, its intensity dropped. The currents and waves would freeze right on top, making a bridge for small critters to hop. No matter the season, his friend flowed along, making sounds that whirled into a beautiful song, a true melody all the day long. Even in darkness, the river would flow, glistening beautiful waves to show. Rusty oft slept beside it, contentment he'd know. Rusty watched as the fishes would dance on the crest of sparkling currents that flowed onward west. Playtime at the river was one of the best. Other friends of the river wore wings and flew, frolicking feathered friends by the slough. Rusty thought they were loud, but he sure loved the view. Other great friends were lanky green trees. River happily gave them water for free. The shade they gave Rusty, a fine luxury. The river shared gifts with its friends every day. Nothing else could replace it or get in its way. Sharing life-giving water on the landscape buffet, Rusty cherished the river as much as his hay. Did you notice how the river changed in all 4 of the seasons? In the springtime, the river water is high and fast, and that's because of the rain and the snow melting. In the summer, the river stays flowing well, and it's very cooling, and the fishing is good. In the fall, when the leaves change to gold and red and brown, the river becomes a golden landscape, and the fishing is still really good. In the winter, the waves sometimes freeze across the top, and then little animals are able to cross it like a bridge. So make sure this summer that you get to go and visit a river near you and learn how magical rivers are. Thank you so much for listening.